any other moderator, if they would go ahead and share the screen for me, pretty please. Hold on. Oh, thanks. Let's see. All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Leetta Padmore. I'm the principal of London Town. And I have to tell you that we are excited about this school year. We love our Lions and we want to see them up close and personal, whether we are virtual or face-to-face. And I'm joined by our assistant principals, Jordan Moore and Brittany Vigil. Jordan Moore has been with us for 3 years, and this is Brittany's first year joining us. She comes to us from Coates Elementary, and we're really excited to have her here with us and for her collaboration. So you will get to know all of us a whole lot better as the year goes on. Also joining us is Mrs. Lanier, Rachel Lanier. She is our school-based technology specialist, and she is our go-to for all things technology and is a great support to our overall school and our school community. So I have a few slides that I'm going to share with you, and then we will open up for questions. Just so you know, right now, the chat is activated. And once we get to questions, I'll go ahead and activate the mics at that time. For right now, feel free to, use the chat to add in any questions that you might have. I will tell you, I'm going to try my best to make it through the presentation and then stop for questions, and then, can look at the chat at that point. So one of the first things I want to tell you is, outside of the fact that we are very excited about this school year, the last school year ended in ways that we had never imagined, and this school year is beginning in the same format. And one of the things that I know about London Town, about our families, about our kids, and about our teachers is that no matter what, whatever it takes, we can do it, and that we are in it together. So I don't know who's in charge of the slides, but if someone would switch the slides for me, I would really appreciate it. Thank you. So we are definitely in it together, and I know that this is a very difficult decision that parents are having to make in terms of which setting are we going to be in, at least for your kids, whether it's virtual or face-to-face. And it's hard for parents, it's hard for teachers, it's hard for administrators, for everyone. And one of the things I want you to know is that and it's not just me, it's all of FCPS and everybody that works here. Our primary concern is to make sure that all of our kids, all of the people that we love and care about, our staffs, our colleagues, that we are in the healthiest environment that is possible. And so we want to make sure in everything that we do that we consider the health and safety of everybody while we're engaging in educating our kids and maximizing their potential. So with that being said, I do have to say to all of you, thank you for your patience. Thank you for your flexibility and your willingness to continue to work with us. Some answers we know and some things we don't know. And as we're kind of making our way through, I thank you in advance for your grace in giving us that flexibility to be able to refine our ideas as we move through each day. So our outcome for today is really to go through what the two models are for return to school, and to give you some insight into what that might look like. In particular, what I know you've been considering is what's best for your child and what's best for your family. Right now, with the parent choice information that we have turned in, most 50, we're at about 50% of our families who have said they want online. So we're right about 50-50 right now. We do have still pending an additional 250 families that have yet to give their feedback. And I anticipate we will get through tomorrow at least half of those, and anticipate that the rest of the people would be opting for face-to-face, which in the end would give us probably slightly more people in face-to-face than in the virtual setting. So that being said, before I go any further, we do have a quick video that I'm going to share with you, which will start our conversation there and our discussion after the video. So hold on and it'll be right up. At least I hope it will.
Will give you a brief overview of the two options that our families have for return to school. As the COVID-19 pandemic continues to impact our community, we are working hard to adapt and provide safe and enriching education opportunities for families who wish for their students to return to the classroom and for others who feel best to keep their students in a virtual environment. As always, every decision being made reflects guidance from our local health department, as well as what is indicated in the Virginia Return to School Plan, known as Recover, Redesign, and Restart. These guidelines focus first on the health and safety of students and staff. Our school board and leadership team have been listening to staff and community input through town halls, public hearings, email, and surveys, and we continue to review and adapt our plans based on the current health situation here in Fairfax County. We encourage families to choose based on health and safety concerns rather than availability of course or program options. School schedules, available courses, and participation in school activities may be limited in either option. However, both options will meet all state standards of learning and graduation requirements. Also, in both options, students will be assessed and will receive grades. No matter which option you choose, we will be prepared to move quickly back to all virtual instruction should health conditions worsen in the region. If conditions improve and directives from the governor change, we will consider bringing more students back into the physical classrooms. First, we'll take a brief look at a typical day for students who choose to return to their classroom. Instruction will be a minimum of 2 days a week. Additional days may be offered based on any updated health and safety guidelines. Schedules will be finalized and communicated in mid-August as family intent forms are processed, allowing schools to assign students to specific classes. Whenever possible, siblings will be assigned to the same in-person attendance cycle to simplify family arrangements. In-person classes will be either Wednesday and Friday or Tuesday and Thursday, with Mondays set aside for in-person interventions for select students as well as teacher planning time. Even when students are not in school, including Mondays, they will be given assignments to complete on their own. There may also be opportunities to connect with teachers online as needed. Students returning to school will first notice a change to their bus ride. Only one student will be permitted per seat, and each seat will be labeled. Buses will be sanitized regularly, and students will be required to wear a mask during transportation. Before the first day of school, parents will need to complete a form stating that they will perform a health screening at home every morning. Parents who do not return the form can expect their child to go through a temperature screening every day before being allowed to enter the school. Visitor access to the buildings will be limited. All students will be required to wear face cloth coverings while inside school buildings, as developmentally appropriate. Students who do not wear face covering for any reason will receive daily random temperature checks. Students will be kept in smaller groups to limit interaction and may be eating lunch in their classrooms, which will be a school-by-school decision. Grab-and-go meals will be available to students who did not bring their own lunch. We are also recommending that schools limit recess to social distancing activities on fields. Our custodial teams will be working hard to sanitize high-touch areas every day using a medical-grade solution. Automatic hand sanitizer dispensing stands will be placed at entrances, and individual use bottles will be provided to all school and administrative centers. Classrooms will receive 1-gallon pump bottles. Disinfecting wipes will be available for classrooms and offices. Face masks will be provided for students and building visitors who did not bring their own. Face shields and gowns will be provided for special education staff, students, and bus drivers. Staff working in special capacities will also receive gloves. There will also be additional breaks in the school day for hand washing to ensure that students wash their hands for at least 20 seconds after blowing their nose, coughing, sneezing, before eating, and upon entering the classroom. Should there be a situation where a student or staff member becomes ill, we will work closely with the local health department to determine the proper response, which could include a short-term school closure for intensive cleaning or other measures. More specific details about the daily schedule for in-person instruction can be found on the Return to School section of our website. For families who choose the virtual learning option, students will attend online class for several hours each day from Tuesday through Friday. Monday will remain a day for special interventions as well as time for teacher planning. Students who are attending school as full-time online students will be expected to participate in live class sessions, and attendance requirements will be the same as in normal school conditions. FCPS will provide laptops to students in need of a device. Students will be using the platforms Google Meet and Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, both of which were used for live online instruction for students in the spring. Students taking classes through the full-time online model should expect larger class sizes than their peers who are taking the same class in person with social distancing at the school. An average class size for in-person instruction will be between 12 to 15 students and can vary based on the size of the room. As much as possible, elementary and middle school students will be served by dedicated online FCPS teachers in a cohort model with other students from their school, region, or division. Online high school students will be assigned FCPS teachers from their schools, region, or the division. In some cases, students may need to access courses through the FCPS online campus or other online provider such as Virtual Virginia. Elective offerings will be dependent on student enrollment and teacher availability. More details regarding the full-time virtual option can also be found on the Return to School section of our website. FAQs will be updated frequently with the most up-to-date information.
Thank you. So those particular, that video I thought gives a comprehensive overview of, what we can expect and what FCPS has determined our path moving forward. So to recap really quickly, we are looking at either face-to-face or full-time online instruction. Both of those will include language arts, math, science, and social studies, as well as specials, so art, music, PE, etc. We are looking at much more much more robust schedule than we had in the spring. So much more academic time for kids where they are learning new material as opposed to reviewing. In either setting, we are going to have immersion available. I know that's a question for lots of families, what that would look like. Initially, when the county proposed full-time online and face-to-face, there was question about whether or not it would be available in the online setting. And so I can tell you immersion is going to be offered in both settings. What that looks like exactly, I do not know right now. Based on our family input, really will determine what our staffing looks like for immersion. But regardless, math and science, if you are in immersion, you will be learning your math and science in Spanish for this year. Also, special ed, as well as ESOL and advanced academic services will be provided in both learning options. And coming out today would be the proposed bell schedule for elementary school. The proposed schedule for elementary would be either 9:10 or 10:05. If we, and that's based on transportation, so that information will be coming to us. It's 9:10 to 3:55 or 10:05 to 4:50, and attendance is required. So you know if it is in person with social distancing or face-to-face, it's either Tuesday or Thursday and or Wednesday and Friday. On the days that you are not here, you would be provided with independent work and have the opportunity to interact with a staff person for your asynchronous work or learning. So, oh, look at that. Just what I just said, new information. Thank you, I'm good. So the next thing I would say is, as we're kind of looking at our next steps, it would be to really keep in mind how important it is for us to be flexible, and how important it is for us to be flexible in like our expectation, and to know that if FCPS changes for any reason, that we would be going along with them. It is entirely possible that we may have to move from in-person learning to online learning, depending on what the health department and FCPS says. If we have to close, then we would just move into an online environment. There have been questions about what happens if someone is diagnosed with COVID-19 in our building or in our particular classroom. And really, FCPS, as well as the health department and the CDC, would really govern what our next steps would be. And they govern who we communicate with, and who we, who they follow in terms of for contact tracing. But all of that is through the health department, and we'll be working very closely with them if need be. Prior to that, I will tell you that we are, really going to make sure that we are keeping the appropriate distance. Our classrooms will be set up with the appropriate distance, as well as making sure that everyone is wearing their mask and having, keeping their hands clean at all times. So, thank you. I would ask, as always, our families are the absolute best in terms of partnering with us. We are a partnership in making sure that we maximize our kids and their potential. And so between now and the time that, we come back to school, I do ask that you would have a conversation with your kids around the importance of social distancing and how important it is that we wear our mask. We wear our mask to protect the people around us as opposed to ourselves. And so it's really one of the ways that we take care of each other. So I do ask that you would continue to work with your kids as well. In addition, that you would also, as always, for our younger people, continue to, really build those independent skills and, work with them in that regard. Alrighty, so let's see. I did see a couple of questions, so I'm going to pause and I'm going to go to the chat and then also, give you opportunity to ask any questions that you might have that I haven't covered already.
Ms. Padmore, one of the questions was about virtual bell times versus in person. Are they the same or are they different?
Oh, thank you. So for right now, all of those details are still being worked out with the school board. My expectation is that our times would be fairly similar. Let's see. So, in terms of the online, if you just hold on just for a little bit, I believe that clarification will be coming from FCPS. All right. Yes, the PowerPoint will be made available. Any other questions? Every child is expected to wear a mask if they're over the age of 2. And for our very youngest who are in Head Start, we would have, conversation where it was appropriate for them as well. But Head Start would be our youngest kids, but everybody else is expected to wear a mask. So in terms of when will laptops be provided, laptops will be once we are back in session. We do not have an exact schedule for that as of yet. However, laptops will be available for any student that needs one. For kids enrolled in person, if we end up going all virtual, is a plan being prepared to transition them. So one of the things that we've learned from the previous year is that we do want to be able to have a bit more flexibility with our kids in terms of working with them in order to use all of the tools that are available. When you are in person, you are 2 days in person, and the other 2 days you are working on activities at home. You would still be able to access any of the tools that we are using, so kids would be more familiar with those as time goes on. Let's see, has there been a determination on availability of recess for the in-person option? The in-person option for recess would be 30 minutes a day, which is comparable to what we had this past year. Right now, I don't know how large the virtual classes will be. The virtual classes can be slightly larger than the in-classroom or in-school classes. There's a question on if we choose face-to-face for the fall, will we be allowed to change our mind once more information is available? So FCPS is asking that we or that families commit to either face-to-face and online. One of the reasons for that is it does impact our staffing in terms of how do we have people available in either the virtual setting and or the face-to-face setting. And so if we switch that mid-year, it does make it a bit more complicated for us to be able to manage that, which is why they're asking for the commitment. I do expect that FCPS will provide us with more information as to what it might look like if a change is necessary. The next question, will advanced academics placement be available in the virtual option? The answer is yes. Advanced academics supports are available as well as classes are available in the virtual option. The next question is if an in-person child gets sick with a cold, not a virus, can they attend a virtual session? I'm going to say I don't know the answer to that right now. There might be different opportunities. I just don't know exactly what it'll be, but I can get back to you with that answer. Should I email me directly? Should I email Principal Padmore directly to request that my twin sons are in separate virtual classrooms for the upcoming second grade immersion class? Yes, you can definitely email me. I don't know exactly what our immersion schedule or what our virtual schedule will look like. But if you email me, we can really see how we can manage that. Do parents have an option to switch from in-class to online in the future? FCPS will determine that, and as of right now, we do not have that option. As of right now, the next question is, will students eat lunch in the classroom? I do not, so I'm going to say I don't know right now. We have a choice of having lunch either in classrooms or in the cafeteria. And that really depends on the number of kids that we have and whether or not we can maintain the appropriate social distancing within the cafeteria for kids. And I'll know that more once we have the numbers in based on each grade level. I do want you to keep in mind that one of my goals is to make sure that all of our kids are safe and that our staff are also safe and that everybody is able to eat lunch and enjoy. And so if it is possible for us to make it work in the cafeteria where it is safe, we would most likely have kids eat in the cafeteria. How long would the virtual program? Would kindergarten classes, and will the time be split up at all? So right now, if you're in a virtual classroom, the amount of time for face-to-face interaction with teachers is either 2.5 to 3.5 hours. And so for kindergarten, it would be 2.5 hours. And within that, there is some scheduling that we would be doing. So thinking about their age and how they learn, having a child sit for 2.5 hours without any breaks is very difficult. It's difficult for us as adults to be in front of our screens. And so as we create the academic schedule, we would consider that for our little folks, that there would be opportunity for them to be up and moving in between all of their work. That being said, that makes me think of, then what does support look like at home as parents are sitting with kids and working with them. And so, I always think about, like, we want our kids just to struggle just a little bit as they're learning new content. And as a mom and as an aunt, it's really hard to sit and watch kids struggle. And part of learning is actually being able to struggle through. And so for parents, as we're supporting, it's really important that we're giving little nudges as opposed to, giving the answers and or doing the work for kids. And we'll be able to give more information at our open houses and back to school nights in terms of, what that support would look like for folks or for kids. For virtual learning, do parents have to accompany the students because I will be working full time? So for virtual learning, parents do not have to accompany kids. My assumption is that someone would be in the house with them, but it is not imperative that someone be sitting next to them. It might help in the beginning, but it is not imperative. Let's see. What is the expectation for wearing masks during PE and recess, and will they be allowed on the playground? Thanks for asking, Erin. The expectation is for masks when we can, if we're outside and we can maintain the appropriate distance, that masks would not necessarily be worn, and that it would be up to the child in terms of like how comfortable they feel. But for outside and for outside PE, masks are not necessary. And as of right now, we're working on what recess would look like, whether they were independent type activities, as opposed to using the playground equipment. So more information is coming on that. Let's see. So will there be mask breaks if a student needs a breather? Can they go to the restroom and take a break from the class or mask and then come back? Anxiety sometimes makes mask wearing harder. You're absolutely right. And so we would work with kids about when and where it was appropriate, to wear their mask and where it wasn't appropriate for a mask. I do expect that if kids are in the hallways that they do have masks on. So we will work out a situation where they can be take a mask break. So Mrs. McKenna, for those with IEPs, will there be additional IEP meetings prior to the school year or after school starts to talk about how the IEP goals will be achieved during virtual sessions? As you can imagine, we have thousands of IEPs across the county. Last year, when we moved to the temporary learning plans, we did that because it was an emergency situation. The expectation now is that we would be fulfilling the hours as they are written as appropriate for the settings that we are in. Once our case managers are determined, they will be getting in touch with you and able to answer any questions that you have, in particular about IEPs. I also expect that we would have regular IEP meetings where then we could also delve into those questions. So once we are back and our case managers are assigned, you can either call or they will be in touch to arrange that conversation. Will there be a virtual back to school session? As of right now, the plan is that we would have a virtual back to school session for all families, whether you are face to face or in the virtual setting. I understood that class sizes may be bigger online, but the kindergarten Spanish immersion classes were combined in the spring, meaning 48 kids at once. Will any online classes be that large this coming year? So last year we combined the immersion classes with both immersion teachers, so English and Spanish, in addition to the IAs that work with kids in the Spanish class as well as in the English class. My expectation for this school year is that we would not combine those classes, as we are going to try to do our best to maintain the flip-flop model that we used while in the building. So it's as much like school as we possibly can. So I do not expect that any classes would be up to 48. For virtual settings, would there be an option to see a recording of the class? Should for some reason we can't attend the live class, and how would attendance work for this instance? Thanks for the question. Right now, I believe recording will be available just like it was available this school year, and that kids would be able to attend at that time. All the information on attendance is still being developed so that we are consistent across the division. So more information is coming in regards to attendance. I hope that answers at least for you. Hello, McGee family. What would happen if a child tests positive for COVID? Will the whole class and the teacher have to quarantine for 14 days or 2 weeks? And how will instruction look like for those 2 weeks? So as I understand it right now, the CDC and the health department would be the people who directed what exactly would happen based on information and interviews that they would have gotten from either from the child and the child's family. And so those next particular steps would be determined by them. If everybody is at home because of a COVID self-quarantine, it is, yes, then possible to have instruction online, because we would already be set up for that in terms of from the asynchronous days. So I'm going to pause for the chat in a minute for Shamara, whose hand is raised.
Yes. Good evening, Ms. Padmore. The question I have is, based on our experience last spring, I have a couple of kids at London Town, and even though the teachers were excellent, they really worked really hard to reach the students and engage the students in the online version. Really amazed of how much and how hard they work. But even with those efforts, the online version wouldn't work with some students. I saw with one of my kids that he wouldn't engage. I needed to sit next to him so he will engage and won't switch applications on the computer. And after sitting with him, I had to reinforce to make sure, he was learning what was being taught, and also, of course, supplementing and complementing what they were doing. Of course, that was an extraneous circumstance. And right now, of course, it's not, for me, it's kind of an emergency situation, and the way everything is addressed, everything is trying to work and do their best to reach students. But also as parents, we are concerned. We are concerned for some of us, we have some preconditions. So it's not really safe to send our students to the face-to-face option. So the only one will be the virtual option for them. But we've seen during the spring that it didn't really work. So one thing that my family is contemplating, and I know we're just to the verge that of the deadline, but I think, okay, if the online version didn't work with my kids, face to face is not an option. I don't have any other choice than homeschool them. But I'm so concerned because I don't have experience homeschooling them with the bureaucracy part. I do have. I feel like my family is well prepared and equipped to teach the curriculum and even go further with their curiosity and trying to fulfill the different gaps. But it's not clear what will it take for the student to go back next year once, well, if God allows, once things are safer for the students and families when they go back. What is it needed for them to go back to? They say, okay, it's a standardized test, but I didn't find any options besides that, because they said it's a lot of subject, because it depends on the school. What will it take to take back the kids? Will they need to be, because there are different benchmarks, I guess, that where the kids are graded constantly. It's not just one test. Do you have any information? I've been trying to reach different phone numbers that are given on the home instruction site on the Fairfax County website, but I haven't been able to find any. We want to do what's best for our kids, but we don't want to jeopardize the school year by, I'm doing this, and without any really further information, what it really will take for him or for them to go back. Do you have any guidance? Because I know there are some group of parents who are contemplating that. And even though we have access to the Fairfax County curriculum, what does it take to document that we're really doing, the homeschooling and meeting all the standards, and our kids are hitting the benchmarks?
Okay, so I definitely understand your concern, with online and face-to-face, and there are limitations to both of them, as you have expressed. If families decide that they are going to homeschool, and I know you've reached out to the homeschool office, and I would tell you many of those offices have not been open prior to this week. And so I would, go ahead and email them your questions, and I can, look on the website as well for additional homeschooling information. But if you decide to unenroll and go the homeschool route, really the curriculum that you determine would be like through your individual, what you decided you were going to work on based on the standards that were available. And there wouldn't necessarily be additional information from me in particular. But I can send you the homeschool link and information that I have. And then there are also additional resources out there to support homeschoolers as well. Of course, we want our kids, we want your kids to stay here and be with us. And in the end, you have to make a decision based on what is right for you, your kids, and your family. and how that relates to your health and your safety. Which is not, it's not the best answer. However, it's the only answer I have for you right now. I will send you the homeschool information and contact though this week.
Thank you. And one last thing. Well, for my kid, for one of them, she's enrolled in the immersion program. I guess once they are enrolled for a year or a partial year, will they lose their placement the following year? Because it's not that we are choosing. I believe in the Fairfax County public system school and all the things that they do to put it together. But also at the same time, those are special circumstances. So what will happen the following year?
Once you are unenrolled from FCPS, you are then also unenrolled from immersion. And in order to be allowed back into immersion, there is no guarantee of that. It's really based on availability and or space within the program, and where the child's Spanish language continues to be. So some kids are, it's easy for them to, be away and then they come back and it's a non-issue. And then there are other kids where without being in the language for an entire school year, it's much more difficult, and then they are not allowed back into the program. But that is on a case-by-case basis, as well as a school decision. And really it goes to how much space we have in the program. So let me take a look. I'm back in the chat in terms of which questions are
Thank you so
here.
much.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I know how hard it is. The question is, who will develop content for online instruction? Each teacher, the school, or the county? Whether you are face-to-face or virtual, we are going to be working from the same standards. And the FCPS pacing guide, which is based on the Virginia Standards of Learning. The expectation is that teachers, just like they do when we're here at school, would plan together on what was important for kids to learn, and then to go ahead and implement and execute as need be. What if the teacher or a relative of the teacher tests positive? Does the whole class again have to quarantine for 14 days? And who will teach the students then? So if it turns out that someone is, like a teacher isn't able to come, we would either use another teacher that is in the building and or a substitute. Just like we do during the regular school year, we would provide coverage for that. Let's see, if a student has special needs, when will we find out if they get extra days of attending school for help with their IEP goals for in-person? So on Mondays, Mondays have been set aside for part of the day to provide for intervention. And that would be a school decision in terms of the kids that would come and how that would look. We will be able to do that much closer to the start of the school, and or even in those first couple of weeks, to determine which kids would be invited to attend. So no information right now. Just know that it is going to take us a little bit to go through our data to determine which kids are invited. For students who are enrolled in SAC, and if they are choosing the online option, do the parents need to opt their children out for this school year? If things are back to normal for the following school year, would we be able to re-enroll them easily? What I would say to you is, those are questions for SAC, as SAC is not directed through Fairfax County Public Schools. And you could direct your question to them in regards of what that will look like. Will speech being just lesson plans again, or actual time virtual or face-to-face? So I believe that it will be actual time, whether it's virtual or face-to-face. FCPS back to school question says, although elementary schools are not yet a part of FCPS on, in order to accommodate distance learning needs in the fall, elementary schools will also have enough devices available for every student to use. Will LTES provide a laptop to every student at the start of the school year, or only to those who requested? So the plan right now is on our laptop availability, and the plan is that every student would have a laptop available for them to use here at school, and if they needed one at home, that we would be able to accommodate that as well. What about after-school activities that use the school, Boy Scout, Girl Scouts, etc., and other activities? So we're going to be following the CDC guidelines on that in terms of how many people can be in the building, and we'll work with our after-school folks to determine whether or not that's a possibility. So more information is coming on that as well. How will speech IEPs be addressed for virtual students? Is there any way that they may be supported in person at the school on Monday? Hi, Erin. I don't know the exact answer to that question, and can get back to you in terms of what that would look like as it becomes clearer. If staffing models don't allow for immersion in person, not enough Spanish teachers, what happens to students attending LTES instead of their base school? So what I can tell you is we are going to provide immersion in the face-to-face and virtual settings. So I expect that we would be able to meet the need for students in the building. Oh, look, Shannon Grayson is here from SAG. She says, please call. Thank you. I know I'm behind the chat. I just can't keep up. Alrighty. Will counselors and other mental health staff have virtual office hours or be available for virtual appointments? I would expect yes. How will extra help be given to a child who is struggling with their lessons if they are online or face-to-face? Will there be any kind of office hours for them to seek extra instruction, or will this fall on parents? So my expectation is, whether it's face-to-face or online, that kids would be able to be supported by school staff for extra lessons. Will students with special needs who have enrolled for virtual instruction be eligible for the in-person extra help sessions on Monday? So I'm thinking if you signed up for virtual, that we would be able to provide you with virtual intervention as well. Though that might be clarified more from FCPS as a whole. Any decisions on if SAC will be an option, AM or PM? I don't know the SAC answers. Thank you, Shannon. Call SAC registration. Thank you. For the virtual kindergarten classes, how will the immersion schedule look? So right now, as most of this information we have just gotten in the last week or so, I do not know exactly what the kindergarten immersion schedule will look like, other than we know that all kids are going to start with a morning meeting, whether it's in English or in Spanish. And then they would have time with their English teacher for reading, writing, etc. And then they would have opportunity to be with their Spanish teacher. I just don't know what the exact timing will look like, but it would fit within the 2.5 to 3.5 hour chunk of time. So I believe I made it through all the chat questions. Thanks, Jack, Noah, Chris, and Cindy. It's my pleasure to be with all of you and answer the questions as best I can for you. It is really important to us that our Lions are, that they're learning at their absolute best, and that we're making the best possible environment and learning space for them, whether it is virtual or on or face-to-face. It's really important to me that we still function as one school community. And so I just want, I want contact with our lions, safe contact with our lions, so that we can, celebrate their work and their learning together. So I know it's 6:50. I'm here to answer any additional questions that you might have. Please feel free to either raise your hand or in the chat. You're so welcome. If you all haven't signed up, I'm going to ask you to please go ahead and, sign in and make your choices. The faster I get those in, we can really start thinking about what our specific schedules would look like for the school year. Thank you. We love our kids, so we want what's best for them for sure. Hi, Leathers family. Yeah, we miss you guys too. If no choice is made, hi Janice. If no choice is made, the choice defaults to face-to-face. Hi, Maggie family. Thank you. It's our pleasure as an LT family. Hi, look, hi Rosario. I don't know if it's Mr. or Mrs. Will we have another meeting like this after we get all the feedback that we need? Definitely we can have another, question answer session. That is correct. Your choice must be submitted by tomorrow night. Hi, look, miss you too. It's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. I hope I got everybody's question answered. My pleasure to spend a little bit of time with our London Town family. Yes, this is being recorded and we will put it on our website. Thank you. It's our pleasure. Yes. All right, Mrs. Savage. My pleasure. Okay, Mrs. Rosario. Oh my gosh, yes, the yearbooks have finally arrived. I thought they were never coming. So we put them in the mail this week. So next week sometime you should be receiving them. But what a relief that was. It was getting ugly here with the company. So, hi Camacho family. Do we have extras? So we only have a few extras. Not that many. If you want us to put your name down, if you would, call the school tomorrow and check in with Mrs. Barraza between 9 and 12 to see if there are any yearbooks available. We only got a few extras. Pictures were part of pickup. What are we supposed to do with them if we don't want them? Yes, the pictures were a part of pickup. So if you don't want them, you are free to drop them off at the school again. Or, the company really isn't checking. But if you don't want them, you are welcome to drop them off and we'll make sure they get back to the company. Yes, you may drop the pictures off. We'll just have a box in the outside the front door. How will pictures and yearbooks work for school students this school year? So I don't know yet. But I mean, we're going to figure out something in terms of, how we can celebrate all of our kids. One of the other things is, oh, look, hi, Mrs. Barraza, she's here. The office is open from 9 to 12 every day. I will tell you that we are limiting the number of visitors that we have in our building. And so we're conducting as much business as possible you know, either in the lobby or just outside the door. Would it be possible to see what in-person learning looks like when we go back to school? I understand if we cannot observe inside the classroom, could we watch from the hallway? So right now, we are being directed that we are really to limit the visitors that are in the room or in the school building to really help us control, kind of from the safety aspect. And so we can think of ways for how we can share the learning that's going on, and we could share that virtually or even through pictures and video as well. Are there any yearbooks from the prior school year, 2018, 2019, hanging around? I don't know, but we can look and see. That would be a great to see, or a video, if we choose virtual for safety reasons. I know. So while we won't be all here at school together, we are still one family, and we are all still Lions. And so, yes, we will think about how we can, celebrate our two communities. So, oh, look, Mrs. Raceback is here too. All right, thank you all for, your questions and for your continued support. We're really looking forward to our Lions and all the learning that will happen, for them in the year to come. Yeah, I miss you too, Miss Graves. Oh, Lisa, giving out your email. So, any other questions that are out there? Oh, definitely. What have been the efforts to reach out to our Spanish-speaking families who might not be able to participate in these kinds of venues? Thanks for asking. We have been reaching out via phone and or Remind, and having conversation with families that way. So we try to make sure we're reaching all of our families so that everybody has the information that is necessary. You're welcome. So, all right. It's been good seeing everybody. No matter what, together we can do it. Yeah, same to you. It's been eons since we heard the London Town School song. So, but please do be safe. Oh, there you go. No, whatever it takes, we can do it. Working together, we make a difference day by day. Miss you too. See, I'm not saying anymore. Hi, Kayla.